In the stillness of 1884 Wyoming, the wind carried secrets through the canyons like ghostly whispers. Our family homestead sat at the edge of Redwater Ridge where the woods grew too thick for most folks to bother, and the hells at night were never just from coyotes. My name's Eliza Jane Murdoch. I married Caleb Murdoch when I was 19. We'd built our life from scratch: 3 cows, 1 rifle, a boy named Henry, and a log house Caleb swore would last longer than we would. But as the years passed, love wore down to routine. Caleb became colder, quieter, more interested in his whiskey than my voice. And though I never said it aloud, the warmth between us had died with the last frost of our second winter. Henry, our son, was barely 6 when the trouble began. It started the day Caleb brought home a stranger. The man was tall, skin weathered by sun and wind, eyes too blue for comfort. He introduced himself as Cole Reeves, said he was passing through on his way to Colorado and needed shelter from the rain. Caleb, ever the proud host, went sober and offered him our spare cot. There was something in the way Cole looked at me, like he saw the woman I used to be, not the tired housewife I'd become. That night, as the thunder rolled, Cole stayed up late by the fireplace. I caught him staring not lustfully but like he understood the sorrow in my bones. And God forgive me, I didn't look away. Henry saw it too. He was a quiet boy, always watching, always listening. That next morning, while I brushed his hair by the window, he whispered, "Mama, that man looks at you like Papa used to." I froze. It wasn't what he said, it was how he said it, slow, almost like he was warning me. That was the first night I heard footsteps outside the cabin long after we'd gone to bed. Cole stayed on for a few more days, helping Caleb repair the barn roof and chop wood. Caleb liked him. Called him the kind of man who ain't afraid of hard work. I liked him too much. When our fingers brushed handing off a water bucket, the jolt between us wasn't from static. It was something deeper, dangerous. Still, I fought it. Every time I looked at my son, I reminded myself of the vow I made at the altar of the life we had, no matter how hollow it had become. Then came the barn fire. It happened after supper. A roar of flames cracked through the night. Caleb and Cole ran out with pails while I grabbed Henry and dragged him away from the smoke. The fire didn't spread far, but the damage was done. 2 cows were gone. The barn collapsed in on itself like a funeral pyre. The sheriff came the next morning and said it looked like it had been set. Cole was the first to offer to help rebuild. Caleb accepted, but I noticed a change in him after that: more silence. He kept his rifle closer. Watched me and Cole with the kind of suspicion that didn't need words. One evening, as I fed the chickens, Cole came up behind me. "You don't belong in a cage," he said, voice low. "You shine too bright for this kind of life." My breath caught. "Don't say things like that. I ain't lying." I turned to walk away, but he gently caught my hand. His touch was warm, honest, and I let it linger for 1 second too long. That was the night Caleb followed me out to the chicken coop. That was the night he saw. The next day Cole was gone. And goodbye, no trace. Just an empty cot and boot prints headed into the woods. Caleb didn't speak of it, not even when I asked. But something in his eyes told me he knew that he'd done something. The man I married, he could be cruel when pushed, and he'd been pushed too far. Weeks passed. The tension hung thick in the cabin. Henry stopped speaking at all, just stared out the window most days, hugging his toy horse to his chest. Then came the night. The wind was howling like banshees, the kind of cold that seeps into your marrow. I woke to find Henry standing at the foot of our bed, pale, shivering, eyes wide. "What is it, baby?" I whispered, pulling the covers around him. He leaned close, his lips near my ear. "He's not gone," he whispered 3 words. But not just words, a warning. "What do you mean?" He pointed to the window. "He watches me from the trees." I jumped out of bed, threw open the shutters, but there was nothing, just shadows and pine. Still, I didn't sleep. The next morning Caleb found the back door wide open, footprints in the mud, barefoot, child-sized. We both looked at Henry. He just stared at us, silent. That night, the air was too still. Even the animals were quiet. Caleb had taken to sleeping with his rifle propped beside the bed. I stayed up watching Henry, who hadn't spoken again since the whisper. Then, just after midnight, He sat up straight. "He's waiting," Henry said. "For who?" Henry looked at me. "You." I rushed to the window. A figure stood at the edge of the trees, tall, still. A glint of blue caught the moonlight. Cole. I ran outside barefoot and wild, heart pounding. Cole. He didn't move, just stood there, his face in shadow. Then he spoke. He buried me under the ridge. My blood ran cold. Behind me, the cabin door slammed. When I turned, Caleb was there, rifle in hand. "You couldn't leave it alone," he growled. "You brought this on us. You killed him." I breathed. I saved this family. He was poison. Henry screamed from inside, a sound so shrill it stopped Caleb cold. Then the wind rose, loud, furious. The ground trembled. From the earth near the ridge, a blackened hand broke through the soil. Cole's voice rang through the wind. "You tried to bury the truth, but it always comes back." Lightning struck a tree behind the ridge. Flames burst like judgment. By dawn, Caleb was gone. The sheriff found his body near the river, eyes wide, mouth open like he'd seen the devil. They called it a heart attack. But Henry and we knew better. We left the homestead that spring. And every so often, when the wind rustles just right through the trees, Henry turns to me and says he still watches because that night, my son whispered 3 words, "He's not gone." And everything changed forever.